welcome to our newest Aspiring Leaders webinar. Tonight, we are very lucky to have two wonderful administrators with us. We have Jennifer Hogan, a principal from Alabama, and we have Lori Green, a principal from Central Ohio. So welcome, ladies. We are so happy to have you here with us tonight. The topic for tonight is goal setting, and I know these ladies have wonderful information to share with us on goal setting. If you're part of our live webinar tonight, make sure you click on the chat button across the bottom of your screen so you can view the chat, and we will have questions and answers at the end. And I will let each of you share a little bit about yourselves and how you got to be where you are today, and before you share your words of wisdom about goal setting. So ladies, thank you both for being here tonight with us.
Thank you, Jodie. I just want to say I just love these webinars, Jodie, that you're putting on for aspiring leaders. I think the topics are just on point, and all of the people who have done these webinars are just giving such great advice, and it's just a treasure trove of information for aspiring leaders. So I just want to thank you for putting this together and making this happen. My name is Jennifer Hogan. I'm an assistant principal at Hoover High School in Alabama. I'm the assistant principal of curriculum and technology, and it's my 24th year as an educator. I can't believe that. I was 12 years as a classroom teacher, and I'm in my 12th year as an administrator. So I have my big 5-0 birthday next month, and then I'll be celebrating year 25 in education next year. I just can't believe it. So thank you all for having me here tonight and being a part of this webinar. And I hope that we share some great stuff with you tonight and some stuff that you can learn from.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lori Green, and I am the proud principal at Winchester Trail Elementary School in Canal, Winchester, Ohio. I have been in education for 23 years, just a few years shy of where Jennifer is, but I have her beat on the age game. I joined Club 50. I'm now in my 51st year, well, 52nd year technically, I guess, of living, but I turned 51 a few months ago. So Jennifer, you're going to be a great company. I was a classroom teacher for 16 years in different districts throughout Indiana, which is where I'm from. And then when I went to Indianapolis Public Schools, I became an instructional coach. And that is where I discovered that I really loved supporting adults in the educational setting. And so I decided at that point to become an administrator. I've been in Ohio for 9 years, and I'm in my 8th year as an administrator here. My background is secondary education. So Jennifer, I have been in your shoes. I love high school and middle school age students. But a few years ago, I got the opportunity to come to the elementary level. And at this point in my life and my career, I couldn't feel that I'm in a more perfect place. I love it. And when we talk about goal setting, it's really important as I'm looking through the lens of empowering our students, even through the way we model setting goals, taking action steps to meet those goals, revising when we come across some kind of obstacle that maybe we did or didn't anticipate, and continuing to persevere. I think that that's really super important. So like Jennifer, I'm super excited to be here. I think Jodie has done an amazing job of coordinating this whole program, and there's just so much benefit to our continued conversation, whether we've been an administrator for single-digit years, double-digit years, or just still looking for an administrative position. We all have, our pursuit and our path in front of us, so we're here to help each other learn and grow.
Absolutely. I love, Lori, how you tied it back to students. I think we naturally do that as educators. We think about things that work for us. We think about things that are important for our students. And as I was getting ready for the webinar, it made me think about what we do as educators for students. Are we teaching students these kind of skills, and are we doing these things with them? You know, are we teaching them how to write SMART goals? Are we teaching them how to persevere and how to have an accountability partner, and some of the things that we're going to talk about tonight? So, you know, I just love that you mentioned that about taking it back to students, because I did the same thing as I was planning. And, you know, it's just, I think it's just natural, don't you?
I do. I mean, everything that, you know, we're about, this isn't our job. This is who we are. And, you know, and that extension is just when you filter everything through the lens of what we do for our students, I think that the outcomes are always so good, even when we stumble and fall. And that's part of, you know, the journey of life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so, you know, when we think about goal setting, there's really three kind of big parts to goal setting. One has to do with the motivation behind the goal setting. And then the second thing that has to do with goal setting is the planning piece of it. And then the third piece is the accountability piece. And so I hope that we can talk about those three things tonight and share some of our experiences with it and some ideas that we have. And we also want to think from the lens of not just our personal, you know, goals or professional goals, but really specifically too for aspiring leaders. You know, I would guess that everyone in this cohort who is an aspiring leader has a goal of becoming a school administrator. And that journey will be different for every person. And so I just want to caution everyone who is in the midst of that journey is as we get closer to the end of the school year and as positions open up and the summer gets here and lots more hiring that takes place, remember that everybody's journey is different, and it's easy to compare what happens for someone else to what happens for you. And just know that every experience is getting you ready for just maximizing you as an educator on behalf of kids and adults. So just know that and just be okay with the journeys. You're going to hear me say that a lot. My husband gets so tired of hearing me say that because it's almost a joke now. You know, we always say it's all about the journey. It is about the journey. So just enjoy the experience and enjoy the ride as you are setting those goals and wanting to be a school leader, because it will happen when it's supposed to happen. I think Lori, you probably, you know, I see you nodding and can support that. And so, you know, the first thing that I mentioned is the motivation. And so we got to ask ourselves, what is our why? Why do we want to be a school leader? You know, is it for financial reasons? That's a reality. If you're the breadwinner in your family, or you're in a financial situation, maybe paying back school loans, it could be a financial reason. Is it for recognition? You know, is it for being able to serve more students? Is it being able to serve adults instead of students? Is it to take on greater challenges? All of these questions are going to be different for everybody. But I think it's really important to look at what is your why, because you're going to set your goals that are going to be based on that. Lori, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I would like to jump in there, because I think that if we take the time to really determine that why, it can be life-changing. I think for me personally, you know, I started in education. My grandmother was an educator. I just, you know, loved playing school at her house and just always saw myself be in that role, but never really articulated the why I wanted that. So I could see myself in that role, and I just thought this would be a great job, you know. But coming down to those like one-on-one conversations with yourself about why do I want to be around young people? Why, as an aspiring administrator, do I, you know, do I value working with adults? Do I like to see people being empowered to, you know, do their very best no matter what their age? Those kind of things. So it really is important to have those conversations with yourself. If you're not able to do that, having a mentor, you know, again, one of the components of this program that Jodie's put together is, you know, pairing up the aspiring administrators with current administrators. And that's such a valuable relationship. And whether you can have face-to-face in real life, or, Voxer conversations or FaceTime, still just having somebody to rip all the masks off, be very real with, to get down to the heart of the motivation behind your goals.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I think it's something too that the more we think about it, the better we get at it. We get more clarity. I know for me, starting out in education, I was a teacher for 4 years and I questioned, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And got out of education for 2 years. And then that's when I realized, hey, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. This is just part of my makeup, and got into teaching. And then when I became an administrator, I often hear people who want to become an administrator, their why is because they're ready to get out of the classroom. They're going from serving students on a daily basis to not having to serve students on a daily basis. But what I want everyone to realize who is an aspiring administrator is that you have greater impact as an administrator, and it's almost more impactful. And so you just have to be aware of that. It is a different type of role, and you have to support teachers more than students. But ultimately, that's the person that you're serving, are those students in your building. And so I wasn't at that point where I was saying, oh, I'm ready to leave the classroom. It just kind of worked out as it was supposed to, that I became an administrator. And then after 5 years as an administrator, I went back to the classroom for 2 years. And so I have a really neat kind of perspective about that. And when I was in the classroom the second time is when I truly just really realized how much I love being an administrator. I like knowing the big picture. I love the autonomy during my day. I liked getting to know kids that I wouldn't normally get to know in my classroom. So those sorts of intricacies about the job and having those both perspectives help me to really understand my why. And so the more conversations that you have with your mentors, with your colleagues, with family, trusted friends, the clearer you get about your why, the more motivation you're going to have to reach that goal.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, I was catching up on the sidebar chat because I didn't have it posted up there.
I wanted to check that out too. I wanted to see if there's any questions from anybody. I wanted to ask if there's something specific you're wanting to learn from this webinar today. Be sure to post that in the chat as we go along, and so we can make sure that we address that. And so I see is this John? I've considered moving back to the classroom after being a counselor for 10 years. It's quite different, the second time that you would go back. And so I would encourage you, if you're thinking about that, what is your why? Like, what is your why for wanting to go back to the classroom? Because one of the things that we talk about in our Women in Ed Leadership Boxer group is that your journey in education and into administration or into counseling from the classroom, it's not just a straight ladder. It's more like a jungle gym. And so you might go from counseling to the classroom and maybe into administration or back to counseling. So that is okay too, to take those different steps and those detours along the way, if you will.
I think those opportunities that present themselves like that are ones you really should take because, I find myself praying that I don't forget life as a classroom teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I think the farther removed we can get from that position, the easier it is to, forget all of the daily things that you have to tend to as a classroom teacher. And so it's just really good practice to make sure that you are out as an administrator, that you're out of your office way more than you're in your office, because that keeps you in touch with the heartbeat of classrooms and the building.
Mm-hmm. Such great advice. So I wanted to move into the planning piece. And one of the things that's important when you're writing goals or when you're creating goals is to write them down. And so I read a neat statistic, and it said only 3% of adults have written goals. So I want to ask, you can just raise your hand, literally raise your hand. How many of you have written down goals for 2018? Raise your hand. Everybody raise your hand if you have written down your goals for 2018. How about that? So of course, I'm gonna suggest that the first step be in your planning is to write down your goals. Also, you want to make your goals visible. You can put them on sticky notes. You can put them in your on your phone, your wallpaper on your phone. You can put it in your car, put it on your bathroom mirror. Put your goals in places where you can see them. Create a vision board. You want them to be visible. And I created a goal setting guide that I want to share with you. It's a bit.ly link, and so if somebody can type that in, it's just bit.ly/, and then in all caps, it's goal guide, GOALGUIDE. And it's a system that I created for this year, for 2018, for myself, and it's just really been working for me. And I know we're just in March, but it's really been working for me for some different reasons. And so just wanted to kind of share that process, and hopefully it can be helpful for you. And so when you're doing this process, the first thing that you're going to do is write down your goals. That is just key, is to write them down. And after you write them down, you want to assign a date to them, okay? So if you have a goal to, interview with 3 different schools, your ending date might be July 1. A lot of contracts start then, so you might have that goal and that date. But once you write these big goals and you write the dates, then you're going to create your task list. So you're going to plan for how you're going to reach your goals. And so you might have some mini goals set up, you might have some action items, but what are you going to need to do along the way to reach those goals? So if your goal is to interview for 3 positions by July 1, some of your tasks are going to be check the job board each day. We have an online state association board where you can see all the jobs that are posted in Alabama. And so it might be check that every single day. Another task might be to send 15 resumes to 15 different schools with openings. And it might be send 10 resumes and letters to schools that don't have an opening that you would love to work there, because if an opening comes open, then you have already been prepared for that position that opens up. So there's going to be tasks along the way that you're going to need to do. Then what I want you to do is take a sheet of paper and you divide it into 4 quadrants, and you put spring, summer, fall, and winter. So you have your dates for your goals, and then you visually put those goals in those quadrants. And what you're going to be able to see is, oh my gosh, did I plan to do everything in 2018 in the month of May? And so you'll set yourself up for failure if you do that. So whatever your goals are, maybe it's to run a 10K. Well, don't try to run the 10K when you're trying to do these 15 interviews. Put that aside and know that you're going to get that done in the year, but you want to plan for it so that you can set yourself up for success at a time when you can really pour yourself into reaching that goal. And then once you've created that visual for the year, then you're going to take all those tasks and you're going to schedule them in your calendar. I love online calendars. You can set up repeating tasks. So if you're going to check that job board each day, you can put it in your calendar as a daily task between now and July 1, just to remind you, hey, I need to check that job board, or whatever it is that you have to do. So go through your whole year and plug in those tasks so that they're already in your calendar. And you'll have to chunk some time to sit down and really think about your why and to write all this down. But this is a really, really important step.
I really like the idea of putting the goals into like a calendar, so you can look to see and make sure you're not overloading. A lot of people will start out with New Year's resolutions or intentions for the year, but we, including me, don't always come up with a timeline for that. And I think that your advice is spot on, Jennifer, in that it's really important, because also what you have to think about is, as an administrator, where are those heavier parts of your school year? And, trying to run a 10K in May when you have graduations and a school year, all of these other responsibilities professionally, might not make a lot of sense to try to put that kind of stress on yourself personally, in training for a race. And so, and it may actually work for some people because that could be the stress reliever that you need, go out and pound the pavement for 5 miles just to get your training runs in. But having the actual visual layout of when you want to accomplish each of those goals is really important.
Mm-hmm.
There was one other thing that you mentioned earlier that I would like to reiterate. You mentioned the importance of having a vision board, and I wholeheartedly believe in that. Setting your intentions, and it doesn't have to be a January 1st kind of activity. At any point when it's in your heart and spirit to, set some new intentions for yourself or new goals for yourself, actually looking for pictures, visual representation, words, whatever, coming up with something that you can physically look at every day to remind you of where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
What is it you're after? And that will help you bring those things to fruition.
I love that. And, not only is the vision board itself beneficial, but just that process of searching through the pictures, actually picking out a specific photograph or picture that represents what it is that you want to accomplish. I love that. And here I go again. It's all about the process. I always go back to that because it's just so important. And along with, with the planning, with writing all this out, I said, put it on sticky notes, hang it in your bathroom, put it on your PC, desktop wallpaper, put a sticky note on your phone in your office, set a reminder each day, put it anywhere that you can see it, make it really visible. But then also you need to tell 3 people what your goals are and let them help you in your accountability. So it might be, the person that you teach next to, because you're going to see them every day and they're going to ask you, hey, how's it going with so-and-so? It may be a parent, it may be a child, it may be a spouse, maybe a trusted friend, maybe a mentor. Share with 3 people your goals because they're going to help you to be accountable. And that's just so important too in that planning process. Who are y'all accountable to? Can you share, like, you don't have to share a name, but you can say, I'm accountable to my principal at my school, or I'm accountable to my brother. I'm accountable to my spouse. Who are y'all accountable to?
Jodie. I think that's actually a really tough question for me to answer, Jennifer, because I think that when I look at my life, I think I've got some professional goals and then I've got personal goals. And so the accountability for each of those is a little different.
Do you have 3 people for your professional and 3 people for your personal?
I don't. I think, I guess I don't intentionally have 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
Could I come up with 3 people that I know would hold me accountable? Yes. Yeah. But have I had conversations with them and set that in place? I haven't.
Yeah.
Challenge for Lori Green.
That's
there
right.
You go.
If you want me to be that person, you can find me on Voxer, Jennifer_Hogan. I'm happy to do that. Yeah. And Jodie says, Jennifer hears everything about my goals. Absolutely. I'm one of Jodie's mentors in this program. And really before the program too, we got to know each other. And so we communicate on Voxer quite often, and I set up a small Voxer group for the other mentees that I have through this program, and it's just been wonderful, to be able to have that contact. I love the use of technology and making connections like this, and being able to stay in touch and to share. It's terrific. So I just encourage all of you, if you don't have 3 people, get your 3 people. Okay, let's see.
Great advice. Great advice.
Okay, I'm just checking the chat. I'm checking out to see what's over here. Okay, awesome. And so one of the things that gets hard when you're setting goals and you're working to achieve your goals is that messy middle part. So you're working on your goals and you get to that point where you think, do I keep going or am I close? and you wonder, is it time to give up? Is it time to change my goal? You get caught in that middle part and you're not sure if you should keep going forward, if you should stop. Is this wasted effort? Or you experience failure along the way and you think, gosh, maybe it's just time to throw in the towel. I want to share a quote from Michael Jordan that I just love. And we know how successful Michael Jordan is. I mean, he is at the top of his profession. And he says, and you've probably heard this quote before, but I want to share it again. He says, I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. Michael Jordan has lost 300 games. And then he says, 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and I missed it. So think of the pressure that he had on him individually, not as his team, not losing as a team, but him individually. And he said, I felt over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeeded. So I guess what my point of all that is that even the people who are most successful, it's not just an easy journey. There's going to be failure along the way. We've got to recognize that and keep going. And when you have people who are in your support network who can help you to get beyond that failure and those setbacks and keep going, it's just important to know that that is part of the journey and you're going to have it. I was talking to somebody on Twitter the other day and they said they had been looking for a job for 3 years and I think 11 interviews, and finally she'd gotten an administrative position. So, she persevered and stuck with it and faced failure quite often. So, kudos to her for sticking with it. I'm sure she had a good support network, but just know that that's going to be part of that process of reaching your goals.
I like to frame it in the context of you're just helping develop your own growth mindset, because failure is part of, anytime we take a risk and put ourselves out to, try something new, go for a new job, those kind of things. But there's always something to take away from the failing experience that can help inform your next experience and make it even more meaningful. We talk in my building right now, we're having a lot of conversations about how we learn, unlearn, and then relearn, because sometimes the way we learn, we've got to take all that away and have a different clean mind so we can relearn the right way, and maybe we can apply that to our goal setting as well.
Mm-hmm. I love that. You said you have to unlearn.
So we learn, but sometimes we have to unlearn and then relearn.
I love that.
Yeah.
Is that something like that you use kind of as a theme at your school, or is that just kind of built into what you do? Or
well, right now we are working on becoming a STEM designated elementary building, and so we're doing a lot of foundational work. And part of our conversation right now is just about, as adults, how are we building our own growth mindsets? How do we view failure? We allow our students and expect our students to struggle through the process. And yet when we adults are faced with struggle, we, get fearful, or we don't want other people to know that we're, experiencing this struggle. And we've just really got to throw that away. We've got to unlearn, this protection that we have, so that we can then learn how to be authentic and transparent and have that growth mindset and have it be truly who we are.
Yeah, that's so good. And I was going to say too, I'll pay next time you set a goal out there, you set an intention. I want you to pay attention that a roadblock will appear. It happens every time. For instance, this is a really simple example, but let's say that you started a new diet and you tell yourself, you know what, I'm going to cut out all sweets, all desserts, not going to eat those anytime. Okay. Well, Monday rolls around and you did great. Tuesday rolls around and somebody just happened to bring a plate of cookies to the teacher's lounge that day. I mean, it's just, like nobody's brought a plate of cookies until the week you decide that you're not going to eat sweets anymore. Or you're going to start running, and the morning that you're going to get up and go run, well, there's a huge rainstorm, or it's really, really cold, or it's really, really hot, or something, it just seems like those obstacles appear, and it's almost like a test of your fortitude or your true commitment to your goals. So just know too that those things are going to pop up. I can guarantee it. They will be there. So get ready. I just say it's the devil trying to keep me from winning. So I'm going to. The other thing that I learned from a friend of mine, Tracy, she taught me to celebrate, and she taught me to celebrate successes. And so you have to know when you have reached that success, and you have to celebrate, because you matter. Your work, your time, your energy, it's important and it matters. And you need to celebrate that. We are so trained to be humble, or we are by nature, and we're servant leaders. We're servants of, goodwill in what we do. And we sometimes don't want to credit ourselves. But when you reach those benchmarks, you check those tasks off, be sure to celebrate you, because what you're doing is if you can't think of it as, celebrating yourself, what you're doing is getting yourself in a position where you can be better for kids and making it great for kids. So just be sure to celebrate your successes along the way.
And that's easy to do when you are intentionally writing things down, and you have a task list, as you referred to earlier, Jennifer, and you can mark things off and say, okay, that one's accomplished, and I am moving toward my goal. And even when we do have setbacks, and your examples were spot on for me in the last 2 weeks, like I want to eat healthy, and then all of a sudden it's the baked potato bar on Friday before St. Patrick's Day. Like, okay, sour cream, butter, cheese, okay.
Exactly.
But the task list is really good, because then you can, check things off, and you've got that visual reminder. Because if we go based on our feelings, those are always, they're not always accurate. And so we have to go based on the evidence, and just making sure that we are intentionally documenting the evidence will help us. When we feel like we're not going anywhere, we can look at that map and say, oh yes, I am making progress.
Absolutely. One last quote is a quote by Bill Gates. And he says, most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. So sometimes we also have to think in long-term plans, and know that when we look back 5 years ago, it doesn't seem that long ago. When we look 5 years out, it seems like it'll be forever until 5 years gets here. And then it gets here and we think, wow, where did the time go? So be sure too that you're doing some long range planning as well, and understand that this 1 year, 2018, how it fits into your plan for the next 3 years, the next 5 years, the next 10 years. So I wanted to leave you with that thought too. In terms of planning, because sometimes we can get bogged down into busyness and the here and the now, and sometimes we got to step back and get on the balcony and take that broad view of what's going on in our lives.
Absolutely. I don't think I really have much to add to that, other than it's always good to have that end goal in mind, and know that as each day is its own, day, things may come. But when in your heart, if you're an administrator and your goal is to do what's best for students in your building and the families in your community that you serve, then things will line up.
Absolutely. So I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. If you're watching it on the replay, I hope that you will reach out to Lori or to me, and just let us know if anything resonated with you, and if you have any more questions that we can help you with, or anything we can do to help you reach your goals. And Jodie, thank you again for letting us be a part of this.
That's right. And Jennifer, it was so nice to collaborate with you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to certainly thank both of you ladies for, again, bringing wonderful information to our webinars tonight. When we have these, we are just so lucky to have exceptional leaders such as yourself provide this information. You work hard all day, and then to jump on this at night, we're very fortunate. So thank you so much for your time, and then your dedication also to help those of us who are going to be following in your footsteps. So thank you so much.
Thank you.